Good evening and welcome to Newsbreak. We're broadcasting live right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the deep South, where we are all anticipating that the South will rise again, but it'll look a little bit different. It'll be a little more friendlier. It'll be a place of refuge for all people that want to come in and make a difference in a growing state. We have less than 3 million people in the entire state of Mississippi. You can drive for hours and hours and not see anyone. I was in Chicago recently, and every time I turned, I bumped into somebody. I just could not wait to get back to Mississippi. Now, this is Newsbreak, and we're broadcasting live from We Believe Digital Broadcast Studio. We're being seen on YouTube, on Facebook, on Roku TV, and on our very own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com. Now, in the studio today, I have with me our newcomer, a gentleman I've known for quite some time, 25 to 30 years, and he's been a prominent radio host on other stations across the country, but he has now joined the We Believe Digital team. So I want to welcome to the studio Mr. Dennis Ayers.
How you doing, Mr. Garrett?
Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, Dennis.
Well, my name is Dennis Ayers, and I have a talk show called Health and Habits. And for the last 40 years, I have worked in healthcare, 22 in clinical, and the last 17, 18 years in corporate healthcare. So I'm glad to be here, and I bring a wealth of information and knowledge to the team.
Well, as always, we have my co-host in the studio with me, Chris Young, a young man that felt in his heart that he could make a difference in the South, migrated down here from Virginia and hit the ground running and has made a tremendous impact in this community. We're always glad to have him in the studio. How you been, Chris?
Good afternoon, Mr. Garrett. I have never had it so good. I'm a very lucky man.
You are indeed a lucky man. Now tell us a little bit about your weekend and how the 4th of July, how did you celebrate?
I don't know if I would call it that, Mr. Garrett. I did a lot of reflection over the weekend. I did some writing for the Mississippi Link newspaper, which I'm fortunate enough to write for each week of the year. But I spent a lot of time in reflection. And I got to tell you, I had some news on in the background. I saw some of the things that happened, like up there in Highland Park. But to be rigorously honest with you, there was no celebration in me. There was no celebration.
Well, I tell you, there are difficult times. There are difficult times that we've come through, and we find ourselves in difficult times. But, Chris, there's got to be a solution to the issues. Do you see any solutions?
I see the beginnings of some solutions. When we can start to succinctly spell out what is working and what's not working. And over and over and over, we keep hearing the theme of informed and effective leadership as being the preeminent solution. The type of leadership that understands that we have to serve people. We're not here to serve ourselves. We're here to serve our fellow man. And when we stand up and take an oath of office in an elected position, the days of self-service end right there. And now you need to become a servant leader and do for the people, and not just the people that elected you, but do for all people. So I think that's how I would answer you.
Good. Dennis, we always talk on this show about effective leadership and the difference that it could make. And so now that you've joined us, we'd like to get your opinion about our current status in Mississippi, in Jackson in particular, and across the country as you see it. How do you see us as a nation right now?
Well, as a nation, we simply need to have a hard conversation with ourselves. Right now, we are as divided as we could possibly be. And there are some things that we have to understand. I think the most important thing is we have to understand is we're all Americans. I don't care what skin color, I don't care who you are. If you are a citizen of America, you have inevitable rights that should be afforded to you. Unfortunately, those in some cases, those are done by case basis, and those are some of the things that we need to take a look at and change.
Well, we're going to bring the news to you. We're going to have honest and open dialogue, and we're going to talk about the problems, and we're going to talk about some of the issues as we see them. So this is Newsbreak, and we're broadcasting live from Jackson, Mississippi. We've been seen on YouTube, on Facebook, on Roku TV, and on our very own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com. You can call us at 800-492-5186. That's 800-492-5186. We'd love for you to join the conversations and help us sort through many of these issues that we're facing as a nation today. Now, Dennis, it was the 4th of July. What did you do?
Well, we ate, but unfortunately we had some not so good news. My sister-in-law had an aneurysm, and she was rushed to the hospital Friday, but she's recovering. So that's the good news, and we're going to continually pray for her and hope the best.
Dennis, what is an aneurysm?
It is a blood vessel that has busted or ruptured in the brain.
What is the prognosis on that kind of event? Is it something that citizens are able to recover from?
In some cases, yes, but unfortunately, in my sister-in-law's case, it was a situation where they had called a family in simply to tell her that she had no more brain activity, and so she was on a respirator, and they wanted to pull the plug. When they did, that's when she started breathing on her own, and the brain activity resumed. So there is a lot of things, Mr. Garrett, that people can do. And I stress this on my show, Health and Habits, on 90.1, is those things that we can do before we get to that point. And those things are simply preventative health care. People do not realize the importance of preventative health care. Once a year, doctor's visit for an annual wellness exam. If you have an insurance policy already, you have group insurance or private, or even you have the ACA or what they call Obamacare. That is something that's embedded in those plans, and they're at zero cost. So, yeah, there are some things that we can do to prevent that.
Wonderful. That sounds like faith was involved in his event this weekend.
Absolutely.
To have his sister, for the doctors to say that they were not going to make it and remove all of the apparatus, and they start to breathe and function on their own. Are you a man of faith, Chris?
I absolutely am, and you know it's interesting when when Dennis started sharing with me the story. He actually had texted me last night with what the situation was going on, and the very first thing out of his mouth is, we were all praying, we're all praying hard, and yet we know we have to leave the results to God, and the unthinkable happened, and I couldn't help but immediately think that has to do with God's will and the result of prayer, because it appears that there was very low brain activity, but now just in a short hours later, there's brain activity, and this situation that was the worst possible outcome it was heading towards, and now it's flipped.
Well, we are men of faith.
Amen.
We believe in the power of prayer. And one of the shows that are coming on We Believe Digital is a full hour of prayer every day. We have prayer warriors that are lined up to hit the studio and to bring prayer to the world. Because, we're being seen in 139 countries. We're being seen all over the world. When we run our analytics here and We Believe Digital, we have tremendous amount of viewership in New York City and Oklahoma City and Georgia, places like that. So our message is a national message. Our marketplace is the national and international market. So we want you to call us at 800-492-5186 as we continue on this journey. And we're going to switch to a little bit harder subject matter during news break. And Dennis, we are in a city that has over 70 murders so far, halfway through this year. Jackson is known as the murder capital of the world.
That's correct.
What say you about crime?
Jackson, crime here in Jackson is a snapshot on what's going on everywhere in the country. Unfortunately, per capita, we are number one in the nation as far as murder rates go. I think some of the things that we can look at is poverty. We can certainly look at the lack of fatherly leadership in the home. I think that's one of the biggest things that we need to look at now. Or as wonderful job as women are doing in raising their sons and their daughters, the words, the actions, the interaction of a father figure makes a big difference in this.
Two things he said. He said poverty and the lack of a father figure. Two things Dennis said. I want to repeat those two things. Poverty and the lack of a father figure in the family. Chris, I understand that there was a tragedy in Illinois and a shooting from a rooftop that happened over the holidays.
At a 4th of July parade in Highland Park, a suburb of Chicago. Now, in this area, apparently has, some people say this is like a slice of Americana, Highland Park area of Chicago. Michael Jordan lived in Highland Park when he played for the Chicago Bulls when they were on that run and everything. But this young man, very, very young, an assault rifle on a rooftop, killed 6 people, injured a minimum of 38 others. His name is Robert Crimo III, and he's now in custody. There was a massive manhunt that was including all kinds of federal resources summoned by the current president, and they caught up with him, and he's behind bars right now. But it's just. And I think, again, an assault rifle, a mass shooting, over 6 people dead, going to a 4th of July parade.
It's just absolutely heart-wrenching to hear that kind of information. As we take a break from our normal routine, our day-to-day grind, to celebrate Independence Day, families in parades and festivals all across this country with fireworks everywhere you go for the great celebration. I was the chairman of the Greater Jackson Chamber Partnership when I brought and led the initiative to bring fireworks to Jackson, Mississippi for the first time. I was out in Oakland, California, and I attended a 4th of July event on the Gulf there, and it was so beautiful to see fireworks all over the city and everybody having a great time and celebrating. But nowadays we have to wonder, is it safe to even assemble in places to celebrate even the most noble of holidays, the American celebration of Independence Day? Mm-hmm. We're broadcasting live from WeBelieveDigital.com. We're coming up on a station break, but we are being seen all over the world in 139 countries on Facebook, on YouTube, on Roku TV, and on our very own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com. Now, you can reach us at 800-492-5186. That's 800-492-5186. We'd love to have you call us. We'd love for you to join us in these lively discussions. I want you to stay tuned. We're going to commercial break, and we'll be right back.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, Keepers of the Knowledge for People Who Speak the Truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Wedding, milestone anniversary, or corporate event, Five Star Lodge is the rustic elegance you need for your event space. With hardwood and stunning chandeliers, this is just the beginning of the five-star treatment. Our on-site venue manager will ensure all details exceed your expectations. We offer a luxurious bridal lounge, beautiful reception hall, cabins, and an outdoor pavilion on the water. Visit 5stareventlodge.com to get started on your most memorable experience.
Welcome back. We're broadcasting live from Jackson, Mississippi. We Believe Digital Broadcasting Studios. We're being seen in over 139 countries on Roku TV, on YouTube, on WeBelieveDigital.com, and on Facebook. You can join our conversation at 800-492-5186. That's 800-492-5186. 5186. We like to do these breaking news stories at least 3 times a week. And we've been joined today with a newcomer to We Believe Digital, one that we look forward to working with. A gentleman that has a vast amount of knowledge, especially in the health field and beyond. Dennis Ayers. Welcome again, Dennis.
Thank you, sir.
Tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have a talk radio show called Health and Habits, and we're going to bring a health component in where we're going to start talking pretty much about health, insurance, and the value of preventative care.
Good, good. And as always, in the studio with my co-host, Chris Young, a young man that's got a passion for truth and justice, who speaks truth to power, who has written every leader in the state of Mississippi and beyond, has written the president and vice president on behalf of social justice issues. Chris, it's always good to have you in the studio. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine, Mr. Garrett. I couldn't be doing any better. I wish my brief sheet for today had a lot more better news on it, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. And speaking of not so good news, we have to go to the number one issue in this country, and that's abortion. This country is divided. You know, it was divided, was evident in the fact of the election of Joe Biden over Donald Trump and the loss of the election by Hillary Clinton. We saw how divided this country was. You become president of the United States of America and lose the popular vote in the case of Donald Trump. So we are a divided nation. And there are many out here that believe that the government is out of control, that we have 350 members in Congress and in the Senate in Washington, D.C. that are controlling 380 million people, and they're not in tune with the masses in America. We believe that our government is out of control when it comes to our state and local offices, where the citizenry is not in agreement with the way their leadership is performing. And one of those things that divides us more than anything else in this country is this Roe versus Wade and this abortion bill. And I'm afraid that that's not going to play out very well. I think we'll see the effects of that in the midterm, but we're going to see that in the demonstrations and in the protests in the streets all over America. So I have to turn to my guest, Dennis Ayers, and ask, Dennis, Mississippi is taking credit for leading the charge to the decision by the Supreme Court to reverse Roe versus Wade. Tell us how Mississippi has earned that distinction.
Well, Mississippi's earned that distinction simply by petitioning the Supreme Court of the United States to overturn this. And there was enough in the quorum to do that. I don't know if Mississippi is different from any other state. It's just simply, it just fell on them. We here too in Mississippi are divided on this very same issue.
Well, we really are. I mean, 63% of Americans disapprove the overturning of Roe versus Wade. 9 members on your Supreme Court, 5 to 4, I believe it was, or maybe 6-3.
6-3.
6-3. 6-3 voted to overturn it, and 63% of America is opposed to it being overturned. How do you survive that kind of divide?
Well, Mr. Garrett, we've talked for years, and one of the concerns for years, as long as I can remember, is not politicizing the Supreme Court. But I think we may have crossed or came pretty close to that line, that we may have crossed that line. Can we bring it back? That's the question now. I think going forward, the Supreme Court may look a little different. The decisions may be different and viewed as political decisions instead of decisions based on law.
Well, Chris, I get Dennis's position on that, but it appears to me that the Supreme Court has become so conservative until many other rights are being viewed and possibly could be overturned, LBGT and other things, women's rights. I don't know if we can get to the voting rights issue, because I don't know if it was codified in the 14th Amendment or not. But the country is afraid that the court won't stop here. How do you see that?
Well, parts of the country are afraid that the court won't see it. What I see going on day in, day out is that there's a larger percentage than I ever thought of this country that is just joyous over this decision right now. And again, it isn't just the decision. It's like you said, Mr. Garrett, other things that are related to people's privacy and their own autonomy as human beings are going to get tied in with this type of thing. They abandon a 49-year precedent, and these new members of the court, all appointed by the former president, Trump, all sat there on Capitol Hill and told all the senators in their confirmation hearings that they held stare decisis to be, whatever's a precedent, we believe in that and we're going to stick with that. And then they just threw out 49 years of precedents. How do you do that?
Well, I was asking Dennis about Mississippi's dubious distinction, and it seems to me that it was Dobbs versus Jackson that started this snowball rolling.
That's right, the 15-week abortion ban, and that's what. And then there was the suit against that, and that's what ended up somehow or another, the way these pieces fall together and everything. That's what tumbled into forcing them. Well, maybe forcing's not the right word. Or obviously they found it necessary that in order to address Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization, they had to go to the overall abortion issue.
And so the governor of the state of Mississippi said on national TV that this was one of the proudest moments of his life.
Yeah.
How you reconcile that?
Well, I mean, if everybody's a white male, I guess maybe he's right, or so. I don't know, but you can't take that position and be a black woman. You can't take that position and be a poor black woman. It just doesn't add up. It shows utter disregard for long established health issues that go on with black women in this country, and approximately 38% of the abortions are with black women. So you're directly affecting such a huge swath of our population that have a bad record of dying in childbirth.
Wow.
Yeah, and so you have to disregard all that in order to say it's a joyous day.
Wow. Well, the governor said, Dennis, that this was one of his proudest moments, and I, too, with Chris, don't know how that could possibly be when the country, 63% of the country says that it's the wrong thing to do. But, Dennis, we're talking about these health-related issues. Mm-hmm. The state of Mississippi has refused to accept the Obamacare and not expanding Medicare into the state of Mississippi. How has that impacted the health, and what is the status of health for Mississippians as compared to the rest of the world?
Well, we're always fighting a battle, either 49th or 50th. And unfortunately, because of not expanding Medicaid, what's going on is about a little bit over 300,000 people here in the state of Mississippi out of 3 million. So that equates to about 10% that simply don't have access to health care. And that's a big deal, because most of those people that have not been allowed to get to participate in the ACA, or what they call Obamacare, those are working poor. People that work make $10-12 an hour, but it's more after they get through paying bills, they still can't afford health care. They don't make enough. Their kids may or may not be covered by health care through Medicaid, but there are a certain segment out there. If they're not going to expand Medicaid, and that's an ongoing debate, and I think they should, because we are in one of the richest countries, if not the richest country in the world. And yet and still, everyone's griping about it is socialist health care, but so is Medicare, and that's been over 50 years.
Well, it's a great hypocrisy is the way I see it, Chris. I think you have some numbers related to how much money the government would send Mississippi for Medicaid expansions in dollars and cents. What does that look like?
Yeah, and I just some of these things don't get as updated as often as you would think that they would. But I just found a Guardian article from just last month where the number is now $5.46 reimbursement from the federal government for every $1 that Mississippi would spend on Medicaid.
Hold up a minute.
Yes, sir.
I want to be clear. I want to make sure I heard that right.
Yeah.
You're saying for every $1 that Mississippi spends, they will receive $5.43 back from Washington?
$5.46 back from Washington on every $1 spent, instantly providing holistic. Dennis would know a better word than, but full-fledged health insurance for an absolute minimum of 300,000 people in this state that are so terribly poor. And they would instantly have access to doctors and healthcare services and preventive medicine, as Dennis has highlighted earlier, instantly, just with the swipe of a pen.
And yet, Mississippi is considered a welfare state. For every $1 that we send to Washington, we currently receive, I believe, $3
and change.
$3 and change back.
Third highest debtor state in the country.
Third highest debtor state in the country.
Yes, sir.
With the nerve and the audacity to turn down Obamacare.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to help us, Dennis.
Yeah. Well, here's
somebody needs to help us understand.
Here's what, and I understand. You know, the health care for the uninsured is skyrocketed and it's out of control. Because if you have a person that's not insured and they get a cold or they get the flu, first thing they're going to do is they're going to go to the emergency room. That's the highest form of serving health care that cost is compared to going to a doctor. There should be something in place, especially for the working poor, that will allow them to go to a doctor. To get diagnosed if they have high blood pressure. If high blood pressure goes untreated, by the time they see that there's an issue, it's too late. And then you're into hundreds of thousands of dollars compared to controlling that and catching it early, and you're paying $3-4 for medication.
Wow. We want to thank our sponsors that bring you Newsbreak. You know, we want you to call us at 800-492-5186. Go to our website at webelievedigital.com. Share our stories and our programs. Like it and share it. Hit the donate button. It takes fuel to run this kind of operation where we can put information out all across this world. And we'll have our impact on the government and those in leadership roles. We will get their attention. We will speak for the people that have no voice. We will continue to bring these kind of informative shows to you on a daily basis. It's been great visiting with you right after this holiday. Until next week or until tomorrow, this has been WeBelieveDigital.com, Socrates Garrett Live. Good day.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. It's good to be in the studio with you